Okay, inshallah.
Just hold on. And you can introduce yourself, inshallah. Okay, Bismillah. You can go ahead, inshallah, with workshop 3.
Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Uh, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So let me share my screen first. This one.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Okay. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So today we will talk about a little bit about what is artificial intelligence. I'll quickly, I heard you guys have done prompt engineering, so you have a pretty good idea how to use it. I'll just quickly mention what is agentic AI, how is it different from uh, just LLM, and we will talk a little bit about what are the different tools. I'll introduce you to the tools. I'll give you the names and things that you can kind of put them together. Um, we won't be able to go in depth. We don't have enough time. So we'll go that route. But once I hope to have enough details for you so that you know what you can do. And then you can go ahead and do more research on that. Okay. So my name is Dr. Najam Hassan. Uh, Actually, that's my introduction. I'm the chair of Computer and Data Science and AI at Capital Technology University here in Laurel, Maryland. I'm also adjunct faculty at UMBC. I teach information system courses or data science courses, information system on undergrad level and data science at graduate level. At Capital Technology, I teach undergrad. I'm also a thesis chair and dissertation chair for master's and PhD students. Um, and there's I also have an executive director of AI Center of Excellence. I'm with the AI Safety Institute Consortium by NIST. Uh, I'm part of that. Also, Maryland Responsible AI Council by State of Maryland. I'm a member of that. Have 35 years of experience. There's my education here. So that's my basic introduction. So, okay, so let's get to what is AI. Can somebody tell me what do they think? What is AI? Either one of you?
Artificial intelligence.
Like, what does that mean?
I don't know, it's like information from a computer, other source.
Okay. So I just would like to clarify some things about artificial intelligence. Like, I mean, there is a definition here, scientific field, explore. So all that is there. Yes, obviously it's important, but realize it's not fancy search, right? It's different from a Google search. It's not like Google search and it's putting it together and showing it to you nicely. That's not it. There's a difference between having just doing a Google search and having somebody do it for you, synthesize the information, put it together, and then give it to you, right? So there is some intelligence there. There's something more happening, okay? And that's I'll quickly kind of introduce you to what is happening behind the scenes, okay? So it's basically idea is to how to make machines mimic human intelligence. That's the idea about artificial intelligence, okay? So it started back in the day and has been around for a while. Actually, a lot of work has been done since the 60s. Then there was like a couple of AI winters, and now a couple of years ago with ChatGPT, it's kind of exploded. And now we have a lot of hardware and everything. So a lot of things are happening here. Okay. So you see there's something in the chat. Okay. Okay. So and this is just a some history. It has been going around like long time. There's a lot of things happening that contributed to all this, and that's why AI came together, and that's why we are now at a place where it's exploding like this. So it's not like overnight thing. A lot of innovations have contributed to it, and it has come to this point that now we are talking about it's a mainstream thing that everybody looks at this, right? Everybody uses it somehow. By the way, we have been using this even before ChatGPT. We used to do say, "Hey Siri" or Alexa. We don't never realized it's AI. This is all AI, right? Even when you go through Easy Pass or something, and it takes your picture uh, of your vehicle, and then it figures out where's your in your car, where is the number plate, and it figures out what's written on the number plate, and then puts that in and figures out who this that figuring out part at the end of who this belongs to, that's database. But the rest of it, taking the picture and reading the number plate, that's AI. Okay, so we have been using this for a while. Okay. Um, so what is intelligence? Is the basically the ability to comprehend, right? And how do you make, so think about this, how can, like for example, a picture of a cat. We think it's a cat, we see a cat, we understand that. How do you ask a machine to understand this is a cat? Because an image is just pixels, right? And pixels just have numbers. And you are telling the computer that these numbers mean a cat. And the cat doesn't have to be at the same place. It can be upside down, it can be black, white, it can be in a garden, it can be at home, it can be anywhere, right? So how do you teach the computer to look at the numbers in a way where it can understand that this is a cat, right? So that's what takes artificial intelligence and machine learning. That's what, and this is what it is, right? So let's, after all this, talk about artificial intelligence, the simulation of human intelligence by machines. Uh, in simple words, AI is machines that learn and make decisions. Common tools, chatbots, translators, facial recognition, all of these things, right? Think of AI as a smart assistant. So it's a little bit more, not a little bit, a lot more than just fancy search. An actual assistant that can assist you in doing the work. Okay. So there is artificial intelligence, and there's machine learning is part of that, and then there's deep learning as part of that machine learning, right? So there are subsets within artificial intelligence. Okay. There are three main types of AI: narrow AI, general AI, super AI. Um, right now, what we are doing is basically narrow AI. There's not, general AI is not realized yet, but that's what we're working towards, AGI. Super AI is when it passes human intelligence. So that's a little bit further along. Okay. So what is machine learning? This, as I said, it's a part of AI, subset of AI, and it uses statistical methods to figure things out. So deep learning is further subset of that, and it requires a lot more data, and a large data set to figure out how to identify things and how to do things. Okay. So why is it important? Because it's revolutionizing the industries, and we can use in our hackathon as well. When we are creating the tools, we can incorporate AI, but we have to understand what is this AI agent? What do we mean when we say AI agent, right? How do we incorporate that into our applications that we are developing for our hackathon? Okay. So within this, there is supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. Supervised learning is when it's like a child who looks at a cat and figures out what is this, and you tell them this is a cat, and then they see a dog and they think this is a cat, and you tell them no, this is a cat, that's a dog, this is a dog, that earlier thing was a cat, right? So you're teaching them, and they're learning under your supervision, right? Unsupervised learning is when there is nobody supervising it, but it's learning on its own. So like if you are like recommendation engines, whether it's like Netflix, right? So you watch movies, and based on your viewing habits, it automatically categorizes you into particular things. Okay, you are kind of that customer, and it's in the 3D space, right? So all these customers are together, so they are in the same group. Nobody told it that to do that, but based on the different habits of the customers, it automatically figures out where it belongs, right? So there is nobody supervising it, it automatically learns. Okay. Reinforcement learning is when it's about rewards thing, right? So if I create, let's say, points. So I create a program in which there are points, and I say if you have your aim is to get to the make higher points. The higher the points, the better you, that's your aim, right? So whenever it does something, I either deduct points or I give points, right? I award points or I take away the points. So that's the punishment if it did a wrong thing. So it tries to, so it encourages to do the right thing where it can get more points, right? So that's reinforcement learning. And it's used a lot when, for example, how to teach robots how to walk, right? That's one of the applications for that. Okay. So what is neural network? It's so the whole machine learning thing is kind of based on human brain, right? How we have neurons in our brain. So each brain in our brain, each neuron takes some input and gives some output. So the machine learning is developed based on the same thing, and we call it neurons as well. It's basically kind of, you can think of it as a function, but it takes some input and gives some output. Okay, so that's what consists of. So that's one neuron, and if you have multiple neurons, that becomes a network. So I'll show you quickly the. So this is the, I'm talking about one neuron model. So you have your input coming in and you're giving some output. That's a one neuron model. And when you go and put this, then you have multiple neurons and then multiple layers, and they are all interconnected. And that's the idea behind. So it's predicting whether it's a cat or a dog, right? So that's how it works. So that's like a small, very small neural network. Okay. But then it can get bigger. You don't have to have three neurons. You can have thousands of neurons. You don't have to have three layers. You can have thousands of layers, right? So it can get to be bigger and bigger. Okay, so here in this case, it's trying to recognize what is the number that's written there, and everybody's handwritten number. It's not in a specific pixel doesn't have a specific value, so it has to figure out different things. Okay, so there are many applications of machine learning, whether it's image recognition or it's object detection. Image recognition is figuring out whether it's a cat or a dog. Object detection is in the same picture, it can be multiple cats or multiple dogs, right? So figure out which one is identifying all those objects in one image. Natural language processing. So when you say, hey Siri, how does it figure out what did you say? And then you ask questions, so it understands what you're asking. Even in ChatGPT, when you give the prompt, how does it understand what your prompt means, right? And that's all natural language processing. Even when it responds, it's giving you a lot of text. How does it put all this text together? That's all natural language processing under. Then you can have also predictive analytics. You can have generative AI, and generative AI uses NLP as well. Generative AI is like ChatGPT and Gemini or Copilot, and that uses NLP as well. So predictive analytics is more like maybe share prices, like whether this share is going to go up or down, or things of that nature. Or you can kind of say if there is like maybe basketball predictions or something, or football predictions, you can do all that kind of things, those kinds of things. So generative AI, we kind of understand, right? There's many things it can generate, whether it's text, images, videos. It can produce, generate reports, produce code. You have been producing code using prompt engineering with ChatGPT and things. So all of that is generative AI, right? And here are some examples like text generation. Now ChatGPT even, I think, can generate some um, image as well. Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, Notebook LM, and then image generation is mostly Midjourney, DALL-E, and there are several others. So now we go from AI to what does it mean, AI, and then agentic AI, right? What is an agent? So AI that acts on your behalf. So one is that you ask a question, it just gives you an answer, and that's it. That's ChatGPT, LLM, large language model, right? Any large language model does work that way. But if you take it to the next step, that is not just one thing, but I want you to go through a set of steps, like plan out, like how humans, for example, if you tell a chat gpt that, oh, give me an essay on this, or give me an answer to this, or give me um, a description of something, it'll give you that. That's not agentic, right? If it goes through the steps, just like humans, if I have to write something, I'll plan out, okay, what should be my outline? For example, this presentation, I had to kind of think through, right? Okay, what it will be, what do I want to discuss? Think of the topic, then think, once I have the topic, even after that, I have to plan it out, right? How I have to finish this in this many minutes. What is it that I want to cover? How much time should I spend in each thing? And all of that thing, and then make it come together, put some graphics. So if whether it's ChatGPT or any of them, right? If it goes through all these steps and then finalize the things, that's now working for you, and that's ChatGPT. That's agentic AI. Okay, so it sets goals, makes decisions, and performs tasks. It's not just giving you an answer and then get done with it. It's doing a lot more than that, right? So analogy AI is a calculator, agentic AI is an intern, okay? So it's that much of a difference. So agentic AI takes a lot further. So why it matters to you? So you can make real world impact with low code, no code tools, right? I'll mention some of the tools that I've found. There are so many of different ones, and depending on how comfortable you are with it, with coding, you can opt which one it is. And we'll talk a little bit more of which ones are um, more free, open source, which ones you have to pay, and things of that nature. Okay, so build solution for your school, family, or community. Tools are now accessible, and you can even download. And if you have a strong enough computer, you can run it on your computer as well. And there are also on the cloud, like you don't have to download through the web, you can use them. So some of the examples like AutoGPT, Cognosis, autonomous task trackers. So both of them there's a websites for them. Um, So here's I'll show you this one. Yeah, this is Cognosis AI, and you can create workflows so that some request comes in, you say, okay, what does this mean? That input is if it's this, you want to do something based on that. So you can try this for free, but it's trial is free, then you have to pay for it, right? Um, okay. And then there is another Auto GPT. You can look it up and see that one. I'll also show Open AI chat. So AI tutors and study helpers you can create with this, community bots, detect bias and offer guidance. For example, these are some of the examples. I also want to show you another one. See if I can find it. Hmm. Even in So here's the so in Chat GPT, you can see that there are some specific customizable GPTs, right? So these are agents, right? You can write for me, Superchat writing assistant, Scholar GPT. There's Consensus, PDF, AI PDF Drive. There is like others here. Okay, so these are all agents. And if you have a paid version of ChatGPT, you can create your own. This is the free version that I'm using right now, but if you have the plus version, which is $20 per month, I believe, you can create your own from here as well. Okay. And then there is a matter of connecting that to your tool, whichever tool you're using. So there are some ways of doing that as well. Okay. And then it also mentioned Replit for coding and Microsoft Copilot. Microsoft Copilot Studio does allows you to create agent as well, Agentic AI, and you can create AI agents with that, but that's paid version. I believe that they charge $30 per month. And they also offer free version for the first month, I think. Yeah, I was looking at it, and yeah, I believe that's how it is. So how you can use agentic AI, identify, so in your hackathon, you have to think of the problem first. Like you went through those earlier sessions where you're thinking, going through ideation, how do you identify the problem? So that's obviously very important here. You cannot just because you have AI agent doesn't mean it solves everything. No, it's a tool. It's I would say it's more than tool. It's like a toolkit, right? So it's there, but you have to understand what you want to achieve, right? So you have to come up with the idea and with the problem and how to solve that problem, break it into tasks, and then you have to identify those tasks, which tasks need the AI part, AI. There are several tasks which may not need any AI, can be pretty simple, right? So they can be just automated by themselves. But there might be some tasks that they need AI input to make a better tool. So for those tasks, once you identify them, then you can use a tool to create an agent. Okay. So and then once you go through all that, then you refine it for impact, and that's how it works. Okay. So when we are using AI, we have to be careful. There is a lot of things that comes into picture when we talk about AI. We need to be fair, right? So our a use of AI should not discriminate against any particular race or religion or anything like that. Um, and it should be accountable. So can be difficult to determine who is responsible if there is an error. How do we detect that we don't? I mean, if let's say your error can cause harm to somebody, right? So if human is using it, so we have to be kind of careful of how and test it and make sure it's not going to cause any harm. Okay, and should be transparent. So if somebody asks, let's say, and there are several case studies like Amazon was using it to hire people, and it was doing discriminatory in the sense of not hiring female workers as much and rejecting them because that's the data it was trained on. So it depends on the moral training, right? So that's where we have to be careful. Okay. And that's why ethics matter. So we have to be careful, even as a Muslim, especially as a Muslim, right? Main issues, we have to be accountability and responsibility. So as the theme says, using AI responsibly, right? Responsible AI is use AI responsibly, and AI we are using should be responsible for what it's generating and the output it's giving, right? So we should not use it to claim some work that is done by AI as ours. That's for sure. And the other, if it's we are using AI, we just tell the yeah, we used AI. And we also make sure that when AI is generating some output, it is responsible, and AV can be it can be trustworthy, right? So those are the important things. So some of the issues, and then there's like privacy and surveillance, fairness and bias. I just mentioned some of them, security and vulnerability abuse. So AI can hallucinate. So if it doesn't have answers, sometimes it can make up as answers that's not they are not true. Okay, so we have to be careful. There can be AI can be used to do disinformation, which is deception, and to create deep fakes. So that's the ethical side of things. So responsible agentic behavior agents must follow ethical guidelines. So when we are using to create agentic AI, we must follow ethical guidelines. Think about fairness, safety, and trust, right? So if this is, are we creating a tool that people will be using and it might end up giving them wrong instructions, that can be a safety problem, that can cost people money or harm in any other way, right? If you're giving health advice which is wrong, that can hurt somebody. So things of that nature. So we have to be very careful in that side of things. And Islamic principle is technology should help, not harm. Okay. More Islamic values in agentic AI is basically justice. That's the adl, fairness in decisions and actions, responsibility, amana. Agents must be trustworthy. Intention, niya, purpose should align with good. And consultation, shura, collaboration, and not isolated. So we are not giving the agent capability to run on its own. We are always supervising it, right? And it's the human that should be on that. It should help, but it should not be the master. It's the assistant, right? Okay. So from a hackathon perspective, you have to think big, but start small. Okay. Focus on the real needs in your community and use tools that lets your ideas shine. No heavy coding. Don't just build smart tech, build meaningful tech. Okay. All right. So let me show you something which can. Okay, if I can find it. Okay. Let this share my screen again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a short video. Maybe not completely, but I'm hoping that that'll help you guys understand a little bit more. Can you see the video?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so like God was saying, I'm just going to do a basic introduction of agents, and we're going to cover what they are and some of the things that define them. So first, let me just introduce myself. I'm Miguel Neves, an AI solution architect at TensorOps. TensorOps is a consulting company working to accelerate businesses through AI adoption. We've worked with many companies such as Notion, Panaya, JFrog, and much more. But without further ado, let's jump right into it. with one of my favorite quotes from Andrew Ng regarding agents. So he says, an agentic workflow is an iterative and collaborative approach to interacting with LLMs that mimics human problem-solving processes. So notice here iterative and collaborative, which is the real key difference from previous LLM applications, and that we'll discuss in a little bit. So I just want to touch on that some of the materials here were inspired from Google Cloud Innovators. They have great stuff going on there, and we really felt that it would be great to explain some of the agent concepts from the ground up. Okay, so let's start off with an example defining what is an agentic flow and what's not. So on the left, we have a task like type an essay. You go to an LLM and you say type an essay on a certain topic from start to finish. And if you go to ChatGPT, for example, what will happen is it will give you the answer in one go, but then you will have to manually review it, see what's wrong, ask him for other stuff. While on an agentic workflow, you tell it, okay, please write me an essay on this topic, and it will say, okay, maybe I need to go and search the web for some information. I'll write the first draft, the draft, then it will evaluate it. Doesn't look so good, it will redo it, and it will continue until it finds a satisfying answer. Now, this is much more akin to what humans do, right? Where they are much more autonomous and plan ahead and can adapt on the fly. And this is where really the part from Andrew Ng's quote shines. So I just wanted to give you an overview of the components of an agent. Like I said, I'm only covering the basics here, but we have three main components. One of them, the memory, you're probably already very familiar with from chatbot applications, which all have memory by now. But the two main components that are key here is the planning and the tools. So the planning is exactly this ability to reason and plan ahead and adapt the plan if needed. And the tools is what allows the agent to interact with the environment, perform actions, such as go on an API or use a certain Python function or much more. So agents, what they do is effectively they are increasing the abstraction layer between the user and the machine. No longer do you need to explain every little thing to the machine that you want it to do. You could just tell it your overall goal, and then it will find the path until that goal. So it plans and executes for you. And that's really where the potential of these agents shines and where we see it. And so, of course, then the question stands out, which is, okay, but what's the business impact of this? And so Google was just brainstorming, and they found many possible applications, and one of the main ones is actually customer support, as we see here, or even call centers and much more. You can use it for sales, marketing, for generating content, for social media. There really are a lot of applications. So it's mostly a matter of building good products and finding the right product flows. But this goes to show all the potential that there is behind agents and why it does deserve most of its hype. So with that said, I wanted to bring an example here. So let's pick a travel assistant agent. Okay, so you have a travel assistant, and the user has this comment right here. It says, okay, I want to fly to Italy. Please check when's the best time to buy a ticket, and if possible, buy the ticket for me. So if you were to go with this question to a normal chatbot, say you go to ChatGPT, maybe it would be able to tell you, okay, so you want to fly to Italy, maybe it's better to avoid the summer because too many people will be there. But it's not really basing itself on live data. It's just making assumptions. And it cannot really buy the ticket. Now that's the difference to agents. So let me show you a bit of the architecture behind it. So agents, much like other LLM applications, have inputs, which can be sometimes text, images, video, much more. But then it has the memory, which of course many other applications already have. The two main things I want to focus on are the decision-making, meaning the planning and reasoning, and the tools, meaning the actions. So in this case, it could plan that, okay, so the user wants to fly to Italy, so maybe I'll need to check the prices of the flights. I'll need to check the weather. And it plans out these two things. And then it goes and uses the tools. For each one, it goes, checks the weather using an API, goes on Skyscanner or something and checks the prices. And it can do this and change the plan until it feels like it has reached the original goal, at which point it will return the answer to the user. So, of course, this all seems amazing, right? An fully autonomous agent, but these use cases really vary in terms of autonomy. So from level 1 to 4, the autonomy increases. We have some use cases in which we're just on level 1, where the agent is pretty much just auto-completing what the human is doing, but it's the human who's the driving force. And then you have level 4, where no human is required, and the agent is just doing everything on its own. Of course, it depends on the use case, but if you were to ask me, you'd say that on many use cases, for example, on this one, the travel assistant, you could perhaps be on level 3, where the human is only present for risky situations, which in this case could be, for example, buying the ticket itself, because then it presents a risk. But maybe going on APIs, it's not so expensive, so it could do that by its own. But then again, I just want to really focus on this. It is use case dependent, and you will need to analyze depending also on the product itself. So let's give an overview again and dive into the 4 key components of agents. Some of them I already mentioned, which were the tools, of course.
Okay, so let me stop here with that. And because that now it gets into more technical details. So now what I want to do is show you a little bit of, okay, let's all right. Okay, so this is like, this one is simstudio.ai, simstudio.ai, right? So this is open source. It's free to use. You do not need to pay for it. And it's actually, you can, I think there's source code available and you can go and download and run it on your computer, but I don't think I'm going to go there yet. It can be used on web. So here, if you go, the way it works, you drag and drop. So right now it's asking me start workflow. What do you want to do? Run manually, or I can do webhook call. So in a webhook call, I can then say Slack or Gmail or a table, Telegram, generic, different things I can do. And then I can configure that, right? And then we can have API call, where this whole thing is called from an API and it comes to this agent and the agent gets the request and then it processes it. Or we can just say, okay, no, it runs manually. Okay, so let me delete this. I can also have a lot of, you can see the function, condition, router, memory, knowledge, workflow, response. A lot of things are there, loop, parallel, execution, everything can be done. Okay, there's a lot of, I'm not going to go into each one. We don't have that much time, but there's a lot of, there is some documentation for it, which talks about the UI for agent. You don't have to code anything in this. That's the most important part, right? So you drag and drop, but you have to know how the workflow works. What will happen first? What's going to happen next? So you have to really define your problem very well. That's the first stage, right? Once you have done that, then you can use an AI agent for it and say, okay, this is how our workflow should work. And we want this agent to do these things. Okay. So this defines this AUI. The documentation tells you why this and what can you do, focus on what matters. So you don't have to do coding and you can do all of, you can read through all this, like you can. And one thing I want to mention, so this does the workflow part of it, the agentic part of it. It doesn't have an LLM in it. So you have to connect this to an LLM, okay? Whether it's ChatGPT, but for that kind of work, you need ChatGPT's paid version, so $20 a month there. If you want to use, you can use open source and download and run out in computer. There's some that are online, like I think GPT-J. Another one is GPT Neox, I believe. So there are other ones that are there which are free to use, but you have to go and kind of spend some time to figure out how to use them, right? It takes a little bit of an effort, but these things are available even without cost. Um, what else? So there's yeah. So I'll show you the Sim Studios one. Yeah, I guess I'll show you this one, right? So to get an idea. I forgot to share the feed. Let me share it again. Okay. Okay. All right. So here's about Sim Studio.
We're not gonna make it.
Okay, so that was that. So Sim Studio is one of those things, right? So it's not the only one. There are many others which can do the similar thing. Let's see if I can show you something else. So I can share some of these links that I'm talking about. So here's a article 13 open source tools to explore agentic AI ecosystem. Some of them are easy to code, some of them require more coding, but there's like Open Hands, LangChain. LangChain is also one of the UI based kind of thing where you can drag and drop and create the structure. So that's there. And it provides a little bit basic and also the link to the LangChain, right? And then orchestration, multi-agent collaboration. So you don't even have to use one LLM, like only just ChatGPT. You can combine and if you want, for some reason, you want to combine Gemini and ChatGPT and this, you can do that, those kinds of things as well. So Google has come up with ADK, Agentic Development Kit. That's more about a little bit more coding on that side of things. Then Crew AI, that's a role-based agent architecture. Browser use, let agent control your browser. So it's a more of a agent creating that can go out on the browser and do things for you. So maybe you want to find out what is the cheapest price for me to travel from here to some other place to Saudi Arabia or something, and during this month, and which airline would be the cheapest, right? And still have not too long of a trip, like not too many stops. Okay. So things of that nature. Then there is like a visual development, another tool, Flowwise, just like Sim Studio. Flowwise is another one that can be used for UI development and low code development things. It's a visual workflow canvas that can be used. Then there is like Llama indexed, the index, and there are many others. So that's some of that. And is there anything else? I think that's one of the thing is you may have heard of is Manus .im. There is a wait list for that. I think I was accepted, but I don't know if it's now they're not taking. I don't know if it's now open to everybody or not. But Manus is an AI agent that you can ask it to develop things. So it can, even ChatGPT is now kind of becoming an agent. So you can tell it to, like, for example, I asked it to develop a PowerPoint for me, and it generated a PPTX file, right? PPT file instead of just giving me text. So they're getting, all of these tools are trying to get to the agentic level. A lot of them are already there. Some are still working on it. Okay. So with that, that's my LinkedIn, and this is this. Are there any questions or comments that I can answer? Some questions, let me know. So as I said, this is not the whole thing, right? This is giving you an introduction. This is what's possible. This is what you can get done. Sim Studio is a good start. There are a lot of paid things as well, but I'm trying to talk about Sim Studio because that's the free one. It doesn't, you don't have to pay anything. You still have to connect it to an LLM, whether it's ChatGPT or any other LLM, a Gemini or any of those, right? So that's how it works. Any questions? Whether you want to ask or when you put on chat, let me know. Okay, I guess no questions. So I'll stop my share.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khaira. So inshallah, I know there are a lot of students I thought that we have mashallah good number of sign up, but I didn't see many joining, but we'll make this video available.